Hello there, Eddie Mercado here with BloodyElbow.com, and I'm about to speak with the founder of Combate Americas, Campbell McLaren, as he is set to host Combate Classico this Thursday night in Miami, Florida. So let's touch base with McLaren and find out what he's been up to with Combate Americas, find out how he linked up with El Clasico down in Miami, and maybe find out his thoughts on Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. Mr. Campbell McLaren, the captain of Combate Americas. How are you, sir?
Very well. Always good to talk to you. Here in Miami and getting ready for what it's clearly going to be the biggest event Combate's ever done.
Yeah, definitely massive.
Pretty amazing.
You are hosting Combate Classico this Thursday night, the 27th, in Miami, Florida. I gotta ask, how in the world did you link up with El Clasico?
Well, it is pretty amazing, right? I mean, for those that don't know, the Clasico is the most famous football soccer match in the world. It's Real Madrid versus Barcelona. Two Spanish teams that are populated with, Messi, Ronaldo, Puyol was the captain of Barcelona for many years. It's the most famous players play for them from all over the world. So it's not just from Spain, but South America, Mexico, Europe, and so on. So it's the greatest soccer match. And El Clasico hasn't been played outside of Spain in 20 years. So this is pretty historic. But we're partnered with RSE, which is Steve Ross's company. Steve owns the Miami Dolphins. He knows about Combate. He's been a Combate fan for a long time, and said he was doing this event, and they thought we'd make a great addition. Wednesday night is Juventus versus PSG, which, if you're a soccer fan, at Paris Saint-Germain, France's biggest team, Juventus, Italy's biggest team. So that's the Wednesday night soccer match. Then our fight. There's a Drake concert on Friday, and then there's El Clasico on Saturday. So it's an amazing week.
Will you be attending the Drake concert?
You know what? I gotta say, I want you to know this. I think Drake is a poser. I think he's a punk. I think when he tries to go after Floyd, I think he's a pussy. And if I see him ever in public, I'm gonna bitch slap him. So,
oh, wow.
That's what I think.
Okay, that's pretty serious.
You can quote me.
Absolutely,
He's a suburban kid that wants to act like a tough guy. My girls would kick the shit out of him. Come, Kira will knock the shit out of you, Drake. Bring your bodyguards.
Fair enough.
What a pussy. Can I say pussy? Can I say all this?
Absolutely. Hey, you can say whatever you would like. Yeah, for sure. So the main event, right? We have Abner Lloveras and Javier Fuentes. One from Barcelona, the other from Spain. Is this your doing? Well, I guess Barcelona's in Spain. But,
look, I'll be very honest with you. It's a gimmick, but it's a darn good gimmick. Right?
Were you behind this?
For Barcelona. But I tell you, here's who I want. There's two fights I want to see. Kira and Vanessa. Vanessa Rico, also from Spain. Kira Batara, our little mugwai, my personal favorite. Everybody knows it. She's the teacher's pet. There's no doubt. She's our Ronda Rousey, right? She's been so dominant in this sport. She's a cutie. She was a cheerleader, a little blondie. She did a somersault in a fight and landed up on top of her opponent. I've seen a lot of fights. That was the first time I'd ever seen a somersault. And here's what happens. Vanessa came in from Spain to represent her country in Los Angeles last, when was that, February or March? And Kira didn't make weight. And Vanessa was so pissed off. She had trained, she'd worked hard, she'd come down a weight class, and she was ready. And Kira messed up. And Vanessa was so angry. The stuff she was saying, look, everybody knows I curse a lot. I can't even quote what she said. It was the most horrible stuff I've ever heard. And so this is a chance for these two to come back together, and it's a war. And, of course, Nate Diaz-Gaviles versus Ricky Palacio. Someone said, is that going to be the fight of the night? I said, no, that's the war of the year. Those two guys, if you represent with Nate, the 209, you know how you got to roll. And Ricky Palacios, I think Ricky's skull is 6 inches thick. I don't think you could knock him out with a brick.
Yeah,
so, yes, we've got a gimmick. But I think we've also got a night of tremendous fights. Some of the best stuff you're going to see in MMA this year. I'm dying to see what Kira does. You know, after a layoff, she's had a long layoff. She had that loss in Japan, in Ryzen. You know, sometimes it's tough, even for an athlete at near physical peak to come back. I want to see where her mind is, and of course, we're always thrilled to have and either of the Diaz brothers. We love Nate. He comes out to the shows a lot, and to have him in a corner fighting Ricky Palacio, who made his debut for us over 3 years ago here in Miami. That's just super. All the fights are going to be awesome. It's just and you know our style. This is not a chess match, right? These guys aren't playing chess. It's not tactical. It's a slugfest.
Well, let me ask you this. With the Batara-Rico Fernandez fight, it didn't happen. I spoke to Batara before this fight, actually, and she said that you actually offered a catchweight to Rico Fernandez, but she turned it down. Do you know why the fight never took place exactly, and why the bout was just scratched altogether?
You know, she's not wrong. Kira's not wrong. In the power of the moment, I believe Vanessa thought she wanted to make Kira suffer more and try to drop the final pound. I think she was a pound and a half over. And I think Vanessa's strategy was, because the commission was going to give her some more time. And I think Vanessa's strategy was, you know, leave her, sit out there, torture her, make her dehydrate more. And that's just not how it was going to shape up. So I think it was an interesting strategy on Vanessa's part. I think if I'd have said to Vanessa, look, that's not how it's going to play, take the fight or no fight, I think it might have been different. Also, you have to remember, I love Vanessa, and I think she's a real great addition to the roster, but we didn't know her. And she's coming in for a very small town in Spain. She didn't know us. We were foreign promoters to her. And I think there was maybe a trust level there that hadn't been established. We're old pals now. And there's going to be a fight on Thursday, you know, no matter. So, you know, look, Kira doesn't back away from shit. She doesn't. She fought up a weight class in Japan and Ryzen. I saw her when we did our New York event. Paulina Granados was there. Who else was there? Was it Stephanie Alba? And the woman that fought for us in New York, I'm drawing a blank on her name at the moment, but they were all heckling Kira at the press conference. Kira got up from the podium, walked to the back of the room and said, I'll fight you, and then I'll fight you, and then I'll fight you, and I'll kick all your asses. So Kira doesn't back away. I think what we had is a situation where it happens in the fight business. You know, making weight is a key part of being a pro. Kira missed it, but I don't think she was backing away from the fight. I think Kira's always ready to go. That's what's going to make this one so damn interesting. They both have something to prove, right? And you know how much of this game is a mental game. You know, fighters win or lose long before the fight starts. So I'll tell you, if I had to bet on this one, and I certainly wouldn't bet on my own fighters, I think it's unethical. It's probably illegal. I wouldn't know how to bet on this one. It's like one day I get up, I go, Kira's going to roll over her. She's going to make her pay for all that stuff. And then I see a picture of Vanessa. I'm like, geez Louise, Vanessa came to eat her way through the cage. You know, so this I think is going to be the toughest women's fight we've had all year.
Okay, now this Thursday, Combate Classico can be seen on ESPN 3, 7 p.m. Yes. Let's talk about that. How did the deal with ESPN come to be?
Well, you know, we've been on ESPN for a while in Latin America. And I don't know if your fans probably are aware that ESPN in the U.S. has never covered MMA, never presented MMA. They do cover it. Chael Sonnen has done commentary and stuff for them for, you know, like a Sports Center style coverage. But they've never presented live MMA. And we have done spectacularly well with ESPN in Latin America. Their top ratings, we're killing it in Argentina, Chile. We're also on in Mexico, on Channel 7 in Mexico, and I'm pleased to say we're doing 3.5 million viewers on the live event in Mexico. Wow. That beats the UFC's live numbers on Fox and Televisa combined. 3.5 million fucking viewers.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a big number. So ESPN noticed that, and I think they realized that they would need to maybe take a chance with us. You know, it's ABC, it's Disney. They're a very conservative company. They've never done MMA, but I think they saw what we were doing was exciting. And you know, I feel I feel Combate is a breath of fresh air into a sport that needs to be re-energized. I don't want to say cleaned up, but re-energized, and maybe show a lot of new and young people and show what they're trying to do. And I think the Hispanic side of this, whether you speak Spanish, speak English, or whatever, Hispanic culture is very family-oriented, very much about tradition, very much about honor, opportunity, work hard, and get ahead. I don't want to go into politics here, but as far as Hispanics in the U.S. go, I would think they think America's pretty great now. And I think that anytime you're dealing with an immigrant group, you're going to find the most positive people. So, you know, as I've said before, I'm an immigrant. I was 7 when I came over from Scotland. I love Scotland. I love the U.S. And I think my audience loves their homeland, and they love the U.S. And so Combate Americas is presenting super exciting fights, very fast-paced, you know, Mexican boxing style, get up in your face and, you know, slug it out, toe-to-toe. So sure. Presenting an exciting style of fighting in a very positive manner with people that are somewhat new to the sport. So it's sort of being reinvented in front of their eyes, right? And I think that's what ESPN couldn't miss. Great ratings in Mexico and South America, in business with them for a year. And I think we were the one that ESPN decided to take a shot on with the MMA. So I can't tell you how proud I am. You know how long I've been in this sport. I've been in the sport when ESPN wouldn't consider putting this sport on. And now to be the one to bring it to ESPN in the U.S., it's really cool. I've done a lot of things. I'm very happy with where Combate is going, but this is a cool addition.
Okay, ESPN. Now, you said that, ESPN is taking somewhat of a gamble here. How was the deal structured? Did Combate sign on for maybe like X amount of events, or is it like a time kind of year contract, or how does that work exactly?
Well, we're signed on for a multi-year contract in Latin America. And this one, I think we both wanted to come in and work very hard to make this work. If it doesn't work for me, I can get out of it. If it doesn't work for them, I will let them out of it. I only want a partner. And look, I'm not being arrogant, but we have 3 other organizations have made us an offer for English too. Okay. So we're getting the ratings, right? We're getting the buzz. People have seen the events. They're really good. Our events look great on TV. They really, really do. We've got a great product. From my point of view, ESPN's in first in line. But if it's not a happy, a happy marriage, then I'm okay moving on because, like I said, I've got 3 other folks ready to go. Okay. But a strange historical twist here. When I started the UFC, which is almost 24 years ago, I can't believe that. 24 years ago, ESPN actually represented the foreign rights for UFC. I had a very good friend named Mark Riley who was part of international team back then. And, 24 years ago, ESPN was pretty new as well. So they picked up the foreign rights and actually shopped the UFC, the first, 6 events. So that's just an ironic sort of tidbit. And now finally back with ESPN in the U.S. It's great. ESPN3, I think that's a great way for our fans to see it. Our fans really are phone. They're really mobile in terms of their viewing habits and how they like to watch stuff. I think ESPN3 does a great job with that. And I'm thrilled. I really am. It's just so cool.
To the point of how people are really viewing media in a different way on their phone, on tablets, on the go. People say the TV is dying, right? We have Web 2.0. Live streaming is huge. You got YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, all these different platforms that are relatively free to broadcast on, but you can still reach a very vast audience, like anyone who can connect to the internet, basically. Have you maybe thought of maybe either doing like a simulcast or maybe even completely putting your events streaming live on one of those platforms?
Well, I think if you're in the media business these days, you have to think about that. And, MMA is certainly the sport that grew up with social media. So we all see the power of Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat to an extent, that really drives the sport. Twitter in general, in particular, right? Because people can watch together and share their experiences live and talk to each other. So I think certainly social media, it can't be separated from MMA. How you present it, I want people to be able to see Combate Americas in the way they want to see it. So if you want to watch on your phone, that's great. Listen, my birthday and Father's Day hit on the same year this year, right? My birthday's June 18th. And like every 7 or 8 years, Father's Day lands on the same day. So I got this new, here's a plug, LG OLED TV, 65 inches with the true black. Dude, it's like, I don't know what it's like. It's like you're watching a movie and 3D and everything. And it's awesome. And I kind of like watching my shows on that. So maybe I'm old-fashioned, or maybe it's just an awesome way to do it. But I also watch, I watched the ESPN, I'm going to watch ESPN on my phone in the venue. So that's very cool, too. So I don't want to pick one. However people want to see it is fine with me. Now, is cable TV, as we know it, going to go away? I would think yes. But you still need that cable to get broadband, right? And in Mexico, most homes don't have broadband. I think it's only like 38, 39%. It's not quite 40% have an internet connection the way we do here. So stuff is not, it's not the end of TV, but certainly things have changed to the point where you got to look at how you're going to present stuff. Look, if someone can hook up their thumb and watch Combate Americas on their thumb, I'm down for that. If that makes you happy, watch your thumb. But for me, I kind of like that 65-inch LED, the super black. It's like amazing.
Fair enough. Okay, so let me ask you about this. Alberto Del Rio, he recently stepped down as president of Combate Americas.
Alberto's coming. Alberto's going to be here tomorrow.
Okay, recently, I believe the police...
Are you coming?
Am I coming? I'm not sure if I will be able to make it. Perhaps not.
I want to put you on the spot. Ask Alberto. Listen, I don't understand. Here's what I don't understand. What is the fascination with Alberto and his love life? Because I'll tell you, I know those two people, and they're two of the nicest people. My wife and I go out to dinner with Rhea and Alberto. They're great people. I think, I think people get overtaken by his persona of that sort of smug, arrogant, beautiful Mexican James Bond thing. I think it's cool. Hey, look, he's the nicest guy in the world. I've always been very happy to have him as part of Combate. He'll be here in Miami. What I like about Alberto is, he dresses up a room. And let me ask you a question. So here's what I'm surprised at. You're an MMA journalist, right? And you're somewhat known as a good journalist.
Oh, thank you for that.
And there's not a lot of you, by the way. But listen, this story I'm hearing about the Chechen president that challenged the UFC to a death match or something, and he's connected to a lot of UFC fighters in Chechnya, is rounding up gay men and torturing them to death. I got to say to you, amigo, go chase that story. Never mind what Rhea had for breakfast. Honest to God, are you a journalist or are you a gossip columnist? You guys got to figure this out, right?
Well, actually, before you cut me off, I was going to ask you if he would be back. If he would be back as in the president role or not, which is very applicable to your business. So I feel like that's not gossip. That is a legitimate business question about your company.
I'll give you that. Yes, you are correct. You're right. I couldn't argue that. I could argue because I like to argue, but I would be wrong. Here's what I think. I think Alberto, for whatever reason, has been targeted by less credible members of both the MMA and wrestling press. And I think for whatever reason, he seems to walk around with a target on his back. I think in the world, in the scheme of things, and then, what I have heard, Alberto killed Rhea's brother. Alberto beat up 5 policemen in Austria. Alberto stabbed somebody in the head. Alberto was almost killed by Rhea's brother. It's like the stuff that comes spewing out is just absolute nonsense. And, I can start naming a couple journalists that called me and said, Alberto's going to be arrested in Orlando. Well, I said, actually, no, he's not, because I actually know what went on. And I don't understand why there's a lot of really bad people in the world, amigo, and he ain't on the list. He's just not on the list.
Fair enough.
I think what he's got to figure out is how much time he's going to commit to wrestling, because it's his first love. It's, that is in his blood. His dad was the most famous luchador in Mexico. Reyes family's just third generation wrestling. And so what I've just been saying to him is think about, I'm a very jealous dad. You got my Combate is my favorite kid. And I think you got to be kind of maybe focused on that. And I think Alberto knows. I think he wants to ride out wrestling a little bit longer. Okay. And he should, and he loves it. And there's always a place at the table for Alberto in my mind. He knows he's got $1 million standing offer to fight. He knows that.
Oh, wow.
In writing. He's got $1 million offer to fight for me.
Oh, wow.
Now, maybe he doesn't think that's enough, but there's a standing offer to fight. I would love to have him do that, but he's always going to have a place at Combate. He's a good friend. He's a true friend.
Okay, fair enough. Now, what is next for the promotion? Huge event coming up, as you said, one of the biggest in Combate's history. How do you follow up?
Well, I think what we've got to do is, just keep expanding on the work we're doing. We're going to be doing an event a month. We want to go to this foreign country called Texas. We've heard Texas is amazing.
I think I've heard of Texas.
We've got to get there. I think we're going to be in San Antonio in October. We're all really looking forward to that. We have a number of fighters from Texas. Of course, I don't know if this is a scoop, because we're not officially announced, but we're going to bring back a tournament format for 135-pounders.
Okay.
8-man, one-night tournament. We're going to do that in Acapulco in the fall. That's a very big deal. And we're going to launch something called Copa Combate, which will be the first MMA Cup ever put together, like the Copa Americas.
Now, I have to ask you about this.
This is not about Alberto again.
No, not about Alberto. There's a fight going down in August. Floyd Mayweather is boxing Conor McGregor. It's just one of the biggest fights of all time. Is this good for boxing? Is this good for MMA?
It's going to make a lot of money. It's going to make, what are they saying? 5 million buys at $100? That's $500 million. It's good for somebody.
Just off the buys, yeah.
Good for somebody. And, the first UFC, I brought a boxer into the octagon. I really didn't expect the biggest fight in MMA to be held in a boxing ring. But, it is what it is. Floyd is a one-of-a-kind, maybe once-in-a-lifetime fighter. When I did the Iron Ring, the TV show I did for BET that actually brought black fighters into MMA for the first time, Floyd was in that show, and I gave him a team of MMA fighters. So I got to know him, and he's a star. He was actually very good to work with, always hit the mark. Is he the best defensive boxer of all time? Probably. I went with Lorenzo and Dana to see Conor fight in Dublin 2 years ago. That was an awesome experience. Conor's very much the real deal. He's not. If Floyd is the best defensive boxer in history, I don't think Conor is the best aggressive boxer in history.
For sure.
So I kind of think that's how it's going to show. Conor's got a puncher's chance. Anything can happen. He's definitely younger. But you know what? When I was doing the show, The Iron Ring, with Floyd would go to his morning workout. His morning workout was like noon to 4, noon to 6. He'd come to my set. He'd shoot until about 10 or 11. He'd go to the club, get a little dinner, see the ladies. And then around 1 in the morning, he went back to the gym. And he didn't even have a fight happening then. So the guy was doing 2 training sessions a day when he didn't have a fight scheduled. So Floyd doesn't play. And I'm not saying Conor does. Conor's very serious. But, look, I admitted freely at the top of this interview that my Barcelona versus Real Madrid was a gimmick. A good gimmick, but a gimmick. This is a gimmick. It's an exceptional gimmick, but it's a gimmick.
Fair enough. How does it go down? What is your official prediction?
For that fight?
For that fight.
Man, I can't even predict MMA. How am I going to predict somebody else's sport? I'm the worst at predicting. But here's my prediction. $500 million. That's my prediction.
Definitely
and I'm sticking with that.
Definitely fair enough. Well, Campbell McLaren, thank you so much for taking out the time once again.
You are the greatest. You are one of the best in this business. Your questions are great. Your follow-up is great.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Now, let's not wait so long to talk again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a pleasure. I love what you're doing with the sport, different avenues.
Thank
you. And what you've already done for the sport is impressive in and of itself. So,
duh.
Mr. McLaren, thank you so much. Combate Classico going down this Thursday. ESPN 3 in America,
ESPN 3.
7 p.m. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thanks again.
So there you have it. Combate Americas founder Campbell McLaren set to host Combate Classico this Thursday night in Miami, Florida. You can check that out on ESPN 3. In the meantime, you can read me over at bloodyelbow.com. You can follow me on Twitter at @Mercado. If you like this interview, you can subscribe to my channel right here. Subscribe to Bloody Elbow's YouTube channel right there. Check out these interviews right here. Now go be a good person.